Dr. Copeland. How are you, everybody? We did. We missed you last time. Were you on vacation?
I was. That was nice.
Yeah, it's always nice to have vacation.
Everybody ready?
You look pretty dapper.
I try. I stopped at Emery Riddle and changed my shirt. I've had to eat 2 or 3 times today in the blue one I had on. I ran up to the dry cleaner. I usually have stuff in this dry cleaner in Fleming Island. Friday afternoon, I ran up there, and it's an Iraqi gentleman that runs it. I walked in. He said, "What do you need?" I said, "I need my clothes." You know, I got suit, coat, stuff. I had on, had tying it. He's like, "No, your wife came by the other day and got it all." I said, I need it now, though. That's why I was in an open collar shirt Friday night.
How you doing?
Good, how are you?
See, this makes me news. Is Gavin still working?
We really don't have one for that job.
Okay, but you would be the one. Well, I noticed one of the things that they're asking for still has him as the CIO.
Yeah, well, I don't have anybody else to put down
It's already being streamed, so anything anybody says is good.
Test.
That's right.
If you Hello. If you would stand, Mrs. Bullock will lead us in the invocation and the pledge.
Thank you. Bow your heads, please. Tonight we pray for bus drivers, aides, and the children they drive, for faculty and staff, and for all the students they strive. Be with the administration and all that they do, and the Clay County School Board gives all the praise to you. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The August 21st, 2014 meeting of the Clay County School Board will come to order. I would like to take this opportunity to welcome you to our school board meeting. This forum is for us, your elected representatives, to discuss and decide the direction we take within our public schools and the education of our children here in Clay County. If you wish to address the board, please complete one of the green cards that are available in the back of the room and indicate the item or topic you wish to address. Please turn your cards in promptly. There will be one opportunity to speak with an allotted time of 3 minutes. No cards will be accepted once from the audience once the board moves to the discussion agenda. I will try to remember to give a last call for green cards. Please limit your comments to the issue. Your participation is welcomed and appreciated. On the agenda tonight, We have the adoption of the consent agenda. Items that have been pulled to discussion are C3, C8, C14, C15, C29, C32, and C42. Some of these items were just pulled before the meeting, so your agenda may not reflect that you have been given. It was 3, 8, 14, 15, 29, 32, and 42. Okay. I'll entertain a motion to adopt the consent agenda except for the items pulled.
I'll move approval.
Have a motion by Ms. Graham, second by Ms. McKinnon. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. Motion carries 5-0. Next is recognitions and awards. There are none at all. Presenters, there are none. Scheduled citizens request. We had 3 requests, but just in the last couple hours, Mr. Finning requested that his name be withdrawn. He withdrew his request. Mrs. Saylor said she's decided to voice her opinions at the ballot box instead, so she has withdrawn her request. So we have one 10-minute speaker tonight, Gary Yeldell, on educational impacts of recent actions and interactions of the board. Is Mr. Yeldell here? Thank you.
Madam Chair,
Yes, sir.
the buzzer does not work, and so I will tell you when time.
Okay, Mr. Yeldell, our buzzer is on the fritz again, so Mr. Bickner will just call time when 3 minutes are up.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
10 minutes.
10 minutes, excuse me.
You can say 3, but I'll take 7 more. My name is Gary Yeldell. I still reside on Alderman Road in Clay County. As the agenda said, I did come to speak about a certain matter tonight. Before I get there, I would like to make one thing abundantly clear. There have been some implications, if not accusations, about why I and another number of others have begun to come and speak on a regular basis here. Oftentimes, those comments may not be pleasant to hear, but I'm here to set the record straight that I cannot speak for everyone else, but for myself, I can tell you with abundant clarity and certainty, I am not here at anyone else's request. While I represent people on a regular basis, I am here tonight on my own behalf, for my own behalf, as a father of 2 students, as a husband of a Clay County teacher, and as a friend to a host of administrators of Clay County students. My comments have been dismissed and sometimes ignored in the past. I understand it. Can't stop it. But let's make it abundantly clear. This is not about dismissal for ulterior motives. This is dismissal because of disagreement with what I have to say. Let's not kid ourselves. With that, I will get into the substance of what I have to say. It is about the interaction between the actions of this board and the educational quality in our county. But I think I can summarize what I'd like to say really with one topic, with one concept, and that's credibility. Or, unfortunately, in this case, the lack of credibility. As we all know in life, if our words don't match our actions, we're not credible. If what we do doesn't match what we say, people notice. And they understand that what we're saying simply isn't true. Well, we could talk about a number of things. I'm here to talk about the lawsuit, the current lawsuit that was commenced this week by this board against the Board of County Commissioners. Why are we suing the county commissioners? Is it because they refused to do what we said? Not really. If we're ultimately honest, the county commissioners agreed to do what this board asked them to do, which is to put the initiative on the ballot. What they didn't agree to do, or what they changed, is when it would go on the ballot. And we can talk all night about why that might have occurred, but at the end of the day, there are 2 facts that cannot be disputed. First, the decision to put the initiative on the general election in 2016 gave the citizens of Clay County, the voters, ample time to research and to educate themselves as to what the better choice is. Appointed, elected, educate themselves, they have plenty of time. Second, and more importantly, the decision to put it on the general election ballot ensures that the volume of voters and the accuracy of their voice will be exponentially greater. Why is that important? Why do I bring that up? Well, let's take a step back in time, just 1 month. This board voted to instruct that initiative, appointed versus elected, to be placed on the ballot. And why? Well, it was said over and over again, this is not a personal vendetta. This is not personal. This is simply about letting the voice of the voters, the citizens, be heard. Mrs. Studdard, you took a number of opportunities to say that here and to various media outlets. Well, what the county commissioners did was take that idea and make it better, to make sure more voices were heard, better voices, educated voices were heard. And what did this board do in reaction to that improvement? We sued them. Once again, when your actions don't match your words, credibility suffers. One more thing about lawsuits. This isn't the first time this board has been involved in a lawsuit. If we go back 1 year, April of 2013, another unfortunate situation. Instead of that time, this board being the plaintiff, this board was the defendant and the superintendent was the plaintiff. He perceived this board had overstepped its authority and decided to have a court decide the question. And oh, the reaction from this board about that. Mrs. Studdard, you were quoted as saying, "It is a shame, rather than having an intelligent conversation with the board about this subject, he has chosen to incur what will probably be over $100,000 in attorney's fees and spend 6 months to a year in litigation." And here's the key. It shows you that his priorities are not with the education of children, but with his own personal agenda. Wouldn't want to leave you out, Mrs. Karakis. I actually like your quote better. This just absolutely disgusts and appalls me that the superintendent chooses to spend the taxpayer dollars this way. Madam Chair, Mrs. Karakis, if what you said was true then, it is certainly true now. To sue the Board of County Commissioners for taking your idea, granting it, and making it better certainly seems to uncover something other than sincerity. And to spend taxpayer dollars, to spend this district's resources when they are so precious few, when our students can't afford to buy paper, our schools can't afford to buy it for them, and teachers are having to spend their own money to make copies, and we're spending money to sue the county commissioners just because they wouldn't do something when we demanded it? Disgusting is the word, Mrs. Karakis. I urge you in the strongest terms I know how, dismiss this suit. Settle your differences like adults. If you look back at that same lawsuit just 1 year ago, the superintendent, he dismissed the suit. He dismissed it before this board had to respond. There was a settlement agreement filed in court where both sides washed their hands of this. I was not involved in that. I can't speak to exactly why, but I can speculate. I can speculate that that superintendent right there, no matter what we think about him, learned and realized that it's more important to spend our resources educating children, supporting teachers, than it is to prove you're right in a court of law. He dismissed that suit, settled it, gone within a month. I presume he learned a lesson, made a change. He did it a year ago. Why didn't this board learn that same lesson at the same time? Why can't this board do the same thing? Act like adults, resolve your differences. I'll close with a very simple concept that I've mentioned before using different words. These meetings and what you do here is not supposed to be about who doesn't like who. It's not supposed to be about we can't get along, the dysfunction, discord, strife. Frankly, it's not supposed to be about you at all. These meetings are supposed to be about children, their education, supporting our teachers, and frankly, this meeting is about how can we equip our schools and then get out of the way and let them do their job. For too long, we have gotten in the way as a board. We have distracted, we have fought, we have wasted time, effort, and money. I hope and I pray that whatever happens in this election, the people sitting in those chairs after the election is over will do just that. Equip, fund, and get out of the way. Thank you.
Okay. That's the end of our 10-minute speakers for tonight. I would like to, for a point of personal privilege, I do have a statement that I would like to read if it's okay with the board. And Mr. Yeldell, we don't respond to speakers, as you speak, but I will have some comments to make at the end of the board meeting about some of the comments that you made tonight. But we don't usually get into it right now. Okay. I would like to address the issue of, because accreditation has been talked about the last 2 or 3 months, I would like to address the issue of the possible loss of accreditation by the Clay County School District. This issue first arose when Dr. Henry, at the request of Mrs. McKinnon, addressed the school board. In the weeks since then, several citizens have expressed concerns regarding this issue. Facebook has been used by several people to promote the idea that we are in jeopardy of being disaccredited. One man even distributed flyers to 100 homes in his neighborhood that stated that 3 board members have caused an official warning from the state accreditation agency that our schools may lose their accreditation because of their other actions on the board. Out of concern for the reputation of our great school district, I contacted the Associate Director of Advanced Ed for the state of Florida, Mr. Ken Manuel. He was amazed at what had been said. He stated that he is not aware of any movement or statement about Clay County possibly losing its accreditation. He informed me that the accreditation team comes every 5 years and will come to Clay County in the spring of 2015. He then explained to me the process used over the 3 days they're here and explained the standards. He stated that if there were suggestions for improvement in certain areas, that the school district would have at least a year to correct this. I also learned that over the past 45 years, only 2 school districts in the United States of America have lost their accreditation. The Director of Advanced Ed for the state of Florida was also contacted, and she expressed the same views as Mr. Manuel. She is unaware of any problems regarding accreditation of the Clay County School District. No letters of warning have been sent to us. I would hate to think that this was all politically motivated to make an issue out of a non-issue, but it is very evident that some people have abandoned the truth in a quest to promote their political agenda. It is my duty as chairman of the Clay County School Board to tell you the truth about the accreditation issue. Our district is an excellent school district and is not now in any danger of losing our accreditation. And I do have copies of my statement for the board members and for any member of the press who would like to have it after the meeting. And I'll pass this out to the board members and the superintendent. I hope that this will put this issue to rest, because there are so many innuendos. This letter that this citizen put in 100 newspaper slots in Eagle Harbor is so full of misinformation that I had to say something. Our reputation is at stake here. We have got wonderful principals, support staff, and teachers, and this needs to stop. Now, the next item, this is the last
Madam Chair,
excuse me?
I'd like to address what you just
Oh,
shared
is your
with
mic
us.
on?
Yes, my mic
We
is
can't
on.
hear you.
We can't hear you.
Well,
Close.
okay. I know it's been brought up repeatedly month after month about our accreditation, and we've all talked about it. And it's just shameful to think that our staff would stand before us 2-3 months ago and tell us that we're at risk of losing it and put us on warning. So I'm not going to go into great detail about it, other than what an embarrassment that this whole scenario is creating for Clay County. And I would like to ask, and I'm not sure who should do it, but possibly our school board attorney, do some type of investigation to find out where this lie came from, who perpetrated it, and why it's being spread among our district. I'd hate to think that this is used as a political ploy against Mrs. Bullock and myself, since we're both up for re-election, but it certainly appears that way. So I'd like to ask our attorney to look into this, question those who came before us, and ask, who shared this information with you, and where's it coming from? Is it coming from superintendent? Is it coming from senior staff? Who's spreading this vicious lie? Thank you.
Let's go. This is the last call for green cards. Would anyone else like to turn in a green card before we proceed? Okay. Then we will start
Ms.
with...
Carrigas, I
Oh.
just want to say that I don't think our attorney can interview employees and handle that situation like that.
Well, I don't think we could have our superintendent do it either because I feel it's coming from there.
Well, I'm just letting you know.
Ladies, let's just go on.
I
The
will
next
be-
item is the superintendent's update.
Ms. Graham, you are correct. Nobody in the school district works for Mr. Bickner. Okay. We have had a phenomenally smooth start to school. We've been in 8 days. Our first week has really set our students up for success. We've done a lot of great professional development, leadership training with our administrators over the summer, academy training for our secondary schools and our high schools, our lead teachers, department heads, CTE. Everybody's been leaning forward and actively engaged. So I'm excited about what that's going to do. Our 3 initiatives this year to implement our innovation, and we tweaked that a little bit. Our instructional strategies, and an ability to help students validate their thinking in their writing. So when we used to, check out the books in the library and just write a report, you got a grade on the report for spelling and grammar, and that was kind of it. A little bit of content, you had to cite the book. These days, what we're asking the students to do is read, write, and talk about everything they do and show evidence from the text that they are reading. So in the new scenarios, students will actually be showing us different sentences, highlighting them as to why they believe what they believe as they're answering questions. We're engaging students at every level with opportunities to read, write, and talk in the classroom. This is not the sage on the stage approach like most of us went through school with desk in rows, the teacher up front lecturing for 45 minutes, and when the bell rings, they're telling them to look at the back of the chapter and define the words and answer the questions. This is the teacher spending a little bit of time at the beginning of the class getting things initiated and having the students facilitate a lot of the learning. And if you've ever prepared to teach something to somebody, you have to know a lot more to teach the lesson than you do just to be a participant and pass the lesson. And we're empowering our teachers and our leaders at every level. We're working through a lot of joint planning and professional learning communities, very collaborative environment as I've been in schools. And as our senior staff has been in schools, what we're seeing is very, very encouraging. 6 of our elementary schools this year are model schools where we can actually take teachers and show them exactly what we want to do. Our teachers are fine folks. We've got over 2,700 of them, and what I have found in my short time as superintendent, they will absolutely run up the hill and through the brick wall for you. All they are really asking for is a little bit of support on what all the new strategies are and how to teach them. So we have several places now that they can go and see that. For years we kind of relied on the train-the-trainer model. We would pull department heads and teachers out of schools. They would come to the TTC or some other location in the county, and they would maybe be the second grade department head with 5 or 6 second grade classrooms, and by the time they get back to school, they're a little stressed out and worried about what the substitute teacher did with their own kids, and maybe that message gets shared clearly, and maybe it doesn't in all cases, but we will still utilize that because it's very economical, and we always have to think about the dollars and cents in Clay County. But what we're doing is really setting our kids up for success, and I'm seeing a lot of good feedback, good strategies in place already. Our high schools, as 9th graders came to school this year, each one of them entered an academy. So over the next 4 years, we'll phase in the academy setting, which is a theme-based learning opportunity. We have multiple academies in each of our 7 high schools. The idea is not to turn a kid into a carpenter or an airline pilot or a nurse or a doctor and have them make that career decision at 14 years old, but the idea is to get them to be practicing all their core curriculum subjects, math, science, English language, arts, social studies, around an area of their interest and keep them actively engaged. Last year we saw our graduation rate go up to the highest in Clay County history, jump from 72 to 78, and only about 1,200 of our high school age children were involved in academies, and as we continue to do that, I think we will continue to see that climb. Ms. Cornegie mentioned Friday night that we are 11 points away from being in the top 10 districts in Florida. It's very important to realize that that is on a scale of 525 points. So we're in less than 2%. I mean, we're right in striking distance. So I'm very encouraged by what I'm seeing. I'm very proud of our people. They are putting it all out there every day, not leaving anything behind. And we've just had a phenomenal uptick in our academics over the past year. And I'll be happy to answer any questions if you board members have questions about our instructional division. Of course, Ms. Cornegie's here, and she is well more ingrained in that than I.
Could I ask, what is our current ranking at this point? I know you said we're...
I have it. We are 19th in the state with a score of 516 points.
Any other comments?
Oh, we're 9 points from being an A district. We fell out of an A district in early 2013, so we're about 1.5% from having enough points to be an A district. Again, that's a 500 and something, 519, 525, somewhere in there, 525 point scale.
No, we don't. We
We talk about 9 and 11. It's really not out of a scale 1 to 100. So we're knocking on the door in the right direction.
Okay, thank you. The next C3 proposed allocation changes for 2014-2015. I do have a card on this item. Renali Paiva.
Good evening, Renali Paiva, proud president of the CCEA, the Teachers Union of Clay County, the association by state law that represents your teachers of this county. To hate us is to show an ignorance. To state you will not work with us is to go against the laws of the state. In the spring, I stood here together with the district and asked you to approve allocations of testing assistants in every secondary school in this county. Guidance counselors are stretched beyond their breaking point. I met along with Ms. Cornegie, with every counselor in this county, and together we explained our plan. I met with Mrs. Adams, and we priced it out and made sure before I went in front of the counselors that we in fact had the money to do this. I met with Mrs. Lancaster, Mrs. McCabe, Kelly Griffiths, president of CESPA, and our executive directors from the FEA to make sure that we had the job descriptions right to present to this board. It was not until yesterday that I heard from a very upset counselor that I had lied to them. They, the junior high counselors, did not get the testing assistants. I called Mrs. Adams to find out if that was true. Of course it was. You know, I don't even care that the district remains silent when ignorant people attack this union. And by silence gives the impression that this union does not work every day with this district. The fact of the matter is, this union works every day with this district. I do not like the fact that I was not told that the junior high testing assistants were frozen. I am asking this board to find the money for these positions. The money that was there in the spring, it should be there this year. I gave my word, and you gave yours. Thank you.
Ms. Adams, or who wants to address this? Ms. Adams or Ms. Cornegie? Who's the proper person to ask? You?
It'd be me.
Okay. Would you tell me, is this just junior high testing, not just the junior high? Is that what she's talking about?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and how many allocations was that gonna be, and how much was it gonna cost?
We originally allocated the testing and support administrative assistant. I'm not sure if I'm saying it right. There were 14 of them. It was for the, I believe, 7 for the high school, 7 for the junior highs.
Okay.
One for each. And she's right. We costed it out. It was going to be about $350,000.
350,000. Okay.
350, and that was in the spring. That was before we knew what our budget was. But just like when we do all the allocations, we are hopeful. And so we put them in the budget and we allocated them in anticipation of actually getting to fill them. So we got the allocations approved. We moved through the reappointment season. We moved through, more importantly, the budgeting process. I worked very closely with Dr. Copeland and Ms. Finley, as you know, and we struggled to have a fund balance of over 2% at the end of the year. I became fearful for the 14-15 year and looked at all kinds of allocations that perhaps we should freeze to see if we actually had the funds to support it and could get to the fund balance that you wished for, which I believe was 2.5. So initially, these were allocations that no one was in. These were allocations that we hadn't had before. We made the decision to freeze them. And I did that initially looking for money. I think Dr. Copeland and Ms. Finley would agree. I mean, we look all the time for creative ways to fund things. Plus, we were waiting to see what the tentative budget was going to be for the 14-15 year. Okay, we've moved through. We've given you a tentative budget. What I found was some roll forward money in the high schools. High school principals weren't too happy with me, but I said, okay, I can put the testing assistants back and I'll pay for them out of this pot of money. And that's what I did. But I didn't have any money to fund the junior highs. So Ms. Paiva is correct when she says we did cost them out, and she's correct in that we did allocate them, and we had every intention of moving forward with them. But when we got down to looking at the reality of the actual money that we had, I just couldn't in good conscience do that. So right now where we stand, all the high schools have a testing assistant. The junior highs do not. It is my hope that eventually we'll be able to have them. But at this moment in time, if we do that, I mean, then we'll have to go take out of the fund balance. I mean, it's just that it's just simple math where we are.
It was 350,000 for junior high and 350,000 for senior high.
I think I believe the total amount was around 350 for all 14.
14.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
They're 10-month. I believe it's B21, isn't it? B21.
And so roughly half of the 375 you found.
Yes.
And where did we find that?
At the high schools and some roll forward money.
Okay.
That they had, that I said we would have, they will spend this way.
Now, we do have a budget workshop coming up. We
Yes, ma'am.
already
We
passed
do.
the tentative budget, but maybe at the budget workshop, you know, we can, between now and then, talk to you and Dr.
Sure.
Copeland to get a little bit more of a handle to see. I know how the fund balance is. That's the problem right there. Y'all got any comments or questions, or, you know, maybe when we do have the budget workshop, we can look half of 375 somewhere. You know, I don't know. I guess we can search.
Maybe we can look. Is my mic working? Maybe we can look for some type of a happy medium if possible. I know it wouldn't be the best possible thing, but maybe some type of a shared positions. But I feel like if we, you know, I mean, I know the testing is difficult at the high school. It's equally as difficult at the junior high school. So I think we ought to try to, at the budget workshop, look for ways to talk about that.
Okay. So we're going to try to figure something out. We'll be talking. You got another rabbit in the head over there, Dr. Copeland?
Madam Chairman, can I just respond to that
Please do.
approach? Tomorrow, I will be having a conference call with Moody's at 9 a.m.
That's right.
One of the questions that they are asking is, are you appropriating any of your fund balance. We are so critical that if I go in and say, no, tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock, we are not appropriating any of our fund balance because we are so far below 3%, they're going to look at that negatively. I've done this many times. You have sat in with me.
Yes, sir.
My recommendation is that we look to build that fund balance, leave fund balance alone. Don't touch it. As a matter of fact, appropriate more directly to fund balance, if I could say it that way, because the bond rating of this district is in jeopardy. I think you and the board understand that.
Maybe we can look at, we might have to, not to hit that fund balance, but find some way to do some shifting or something. I don't know. We'll have to take it up at the budget meeting.
What is our enrollment up to? I mean, I think at Friday's meeting you said we were up so many numbered kids. What are we at right now? Is the enrollment growing more than expected?
I am pleased to report that we are 500 to the good of our projection. Now, I say that with caution, a good caution,
Right.
in that those numbers are what I would call raw FTE, because remember now we're in what we call FTE light, so they'll slice off some of that. We won't get the true, if we really did have, say, 550 more FTE, we wouldn't get the true 550 because now they take off for any kids that take virtual classes,
Right.
dual enrollment, all that other kind of stuff. So, but yes, I'm happy to report that we are, that gap we talked about, you know, where we ended the school year with more kids versus our projection, I'm pleased to say that that gap is closing, and I anticipate it to grow. So I'm pleased about that. We won't see any of that till third calculation, though. Correct, Dr. Copeland?
So what is our enrollment, student enrollment right now?
Let's see. We projected, let's do a math problem. We projected 34,817, and I think we are, help me, Ms. Carnegie, was it 512, do you remember? Say 512 over that.
Okay, just a minute.
So add that to it.
So for 35,329?
That
Does
sounds
sound
about right. Mm-hmm.
We can.
Now, I will tell you that Ms. Roach ran us a number off of Focus today, and we backed out McKay, and I mean it tracks everybody, homeschool everybody. We backed all those out, and the number was even higher. But again, that counts bodies, that counts kids that could even come in for maybe one period, and it counts them as a whole. So we don't want to get people's hopes up too high, but we are pleased with our enrollment. We have exceeded projection, and so it's good. That's good news.
This is a little bit off, but I'm just thinking about it. Do you know how many students we lost to the new Performing Arts Academy who were previously going to one of our schools?
The best way to answer that is was that about 195 students that are by their address Clay County students. Isn't that correct, Ms. Carnegie? Something like that?
But do we know that they were not homeschooled or going to a private school?
I don't know that.
Do we have any idea how many we lost from our public schools?
The large majority of them are K-1 students, so you figure your kindergartners were not in our schools.
Right, okay.
However, they were zoned for our schools.
Okay.
So
well, that's a good point.
yeah, back out about 40-something kindergartners, and that's about what you got.
Okay. I was just curious. Okay.
Madam Chairman, on that issue, we have started to pay the charter school. We've paid 1/12 based on 180 FTE. So we have calculated that cost to be, over the year, approximately $1 million. So,
Performing Arts School?
yes, that estimated cost we need to now figure into the budget. One other thing about enrollment. Now, I just want to caution the board, because I know you're going to be approached, but we are already under proration throughout the state. So let's just assume we pick up a bunch more students. Then if we're already under proration, with additional students, that puts the obligation on the state to now pay the state the base student allocation, we're not going to get the full amount. They're going to water that down and prorate the whole state for this increase in student enrollments. So we need to be very careful when we think, okay, we're getting all of these new students, we're not going to get the full value.
And good point, Dr. Copeland, and I'd like to mention one other thing.
Okay, Ms. Adams.
With this good news of increased enrollment, we will also, we're still marching toward class size, and so we will be, next week we'll have our third count. We've already moved 2 allocations from one junior high that was very low to a junior high who was popping and popping with students. We are looking at every class in the elementaries. Mrs. Cornigan and Mrs. Chastain are looking at that, and we'll give a recommendation next week. I'm happy to report that we're pretty on target, but there are going to have to be some adjustments. Although we try to keep it a wash, because there are more students, you can anticipate that we're probably going to need a few more teachers. So that's going to, that'll be an expense as well. So again, I'm happy for the increased enrollment, but we just need to be very careful. I mean, we are watching this. We are literally, I'm not trying to be dramatic, but it's the honest to goodness truth. We are watching this budget every day. Every position that becomes vacant comes through my office, and we make a decision as to whether to post it or freeze it. So, so we're always looking at the impact. And again, I regret that that all the testing assistants did not get filled yet. I am hopeful that will come to fruition sometime down the road, but I am happy that at least we were able to do it for the high schools.
Could I ask a question, please?
Yeah.
And it'd be directed to Dr. Copeland. On the charter school, if we give them, let's say they have 180 students, and we pay them, do we pay them the full FTE for the 180, and then any after that? If ours is prorated, theirs is, or how will that work?
Yes. We do pay them the full value of the FTE, which net of the district cost differential is about, I think it's 3,100 or 4,100. I can't remember, one of the two. What happens is that just like we get a third calculation, Madam Chairman, they will adjust us throughout the school district. As they began to take enrollments month after month after month, if we have overpaid them, they say they come in at 165, then we will obviously reduce future payments to recoup the advancements. If they should come in at 200, then obviously we will need to adjust the final 15, 16 payments when we get that, and increase the remaining adjustment or payments based on an increased amount we'd have to pay them. This is a new amount that we're going to have to account for that we have not accounted for.
Any other comments?
I have a question.
Okay, Ms.
Dr.
Garrett.
Copeland, since the FTE went up this year, what is it, $175 a student? What do you expect the increased revenue to be from that?
Okay. In the tentative budget, I reviewed that we were receiving approximately 3-point-something million. Within that I think it's 7 or 8, 3.8 million, in that range, was 500,000 that was included in the 3.8 that has nothing to do with available funds for operations. That money is being obtained through an application process, and Mr. Hendrick, I think, is proceeding because it has to be in by October 1. So if we don't get that grant, then obviously the 3.8 will be reduced by some $500,000, $550,000. What happened is last year, the governor earmarked $6.1 million for salaries to support employees and teachers. What happened then is that we paid the full $6.1 million to our teachers and an additional amount to our support staff. What has happened in 14-15 is the value of that $6.1 million went up into the base student allocation. So the recurring cost now will have to be paid out of that increased base student allocation. The problem is, every time they do that, then we receive less than 100% because of the district cost differential, which I think we're about 96, 97%. But still, now we lose that money right off the top. So that money that is now in the base student allocation net of the DCD will now have to go towards the cost of operations, paying recurring costs, etc. Does that answer your question?
Well, yeah. Was it the full 6.1 that we put back into salaries last year?
I will tell you what we did do.
Portion of it.
We came to negotiations, and the negotiations was settled, and we approved whatever that was. There is no amount, whether we paid out $6.5 million or whether we paid out $5.8 million. The bottom line is that now is transferred up here. There is no reserve for less than or more than. And so how much did we spend? I'm not totally, absolutely sure absolutely how much we spent, but we spent everything according to the agreement. Now that could be greater than the 6.1. Obviously, you're not going to hear that.
I'm sure it wasn't. I was just wondering, was it the full 6.1, and I can't remember off the top of my head, or was it less than that? That was the
But the thing we need to remember is that was for that year. If we did a great job and saved our money, then that needs to go towards other operations and hopefully the fund balance. There is nothing carried over to promise that if it was 5.8, we must allocate it to salaries. There's nothing.
Right. Well, where I was going with that was, if we're getting an additional FTE, you know, was there somewhere that we could find the $175,000 to pay for 7 teaching specialists in our junior highs? And that's why I was asking how much you expected, revenue you expected from that. You know, you said $3.8 million. So.
No, I'm sorry. Let me clarify what I said. The $3.8 million is already what we are to receive now minus $500,000. Let's just back out the $500,000. That's based on the current enrollment that we have submitted. And that was 34.8, Ms. Adams, around 34.8. Let's assume we get 35.5. We get that increase. We will receive, hopefully, the full amount of that in additional FEFP revenue. Let's hope we do. Let's hope we don't have any more proration and they give us the full amount of that 700 students based on the base student allocation. We would receive that additional revenue.
Thank you.
Okay, any more comments? Okay, then I'll entertain a motion on the proposed allocation changes. I don't have a motion.
I'll move approval.
I'll second.
I have a motion by Ms. McKinnon, second by Ms. Graham. You know, your mics may be on, but it's hard to hear y'all.
Yeah.
Are the mics turned up?
I think you turned them
Can you
down.
in the audience hear
Feedback.
the board members? Can y'all hear them? Okay. Just talk a little closer, he said. Oh, okay.
Okay.
I think they said they can hear. Raise your hand if you can't hear. They can hear. Okay, thank you, Mr. Hendrick. Okay, We have a motion by Ms. McKinnon, second by Ms. Graham. Any discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed say no. Motion carries 5-0. We do not have any human resources actions tonight. C8, Human Resources Related Purchase Services, item pulled by Mrs. Karakas.
No, that was me. I pulled this. Let me go back to the page.
You still have to talk close.
Now, talk into the mic.
Any closer, I'll be eating the darn thing.
There's some...
You got to be able to do something to fix it. That's ridiculous.
I start to eat it.
I pulled this because I had questions about. I understand why this is coming before us, and the only part of it that I have a question about is the labor relations attorney fees. And I would be more comfortable approving this if we modified it just a bit so that any expected expenditures as far as the labor attorney is approved beforehand through the board and our school board attorney. Before engaging for any reason, I would like that the school board attorney be notified as well as the school board. And this is, in my eyes, it's just oversight, so that we're making sure that the labor attorney is not being treated as a private counsel and just being used for the intended purpose. So that's why I pulled it. Everything else I was fine with on this, but you know, $80,000 for labor fees for a labor attorney, I just want to make sure that there's oversight for it, and I would personally feel that we should have the labor attorney work, you know, through our school board attorney. So that's why I pulled.
So, any comments from the board? I'll entertain a motion and then we'll have discussion.
I will, I move that we, I move to approve the modification of the agenda item, that all assignments to the labor attorney be disclosed to the school board chairman and the school board attorney 10 days prior to the date that the work is to begin, and with the proviso that the labor attorney shall not be used in any circumstances to research or review the legality or the validity of the actions of the board or the school board attorney other than on collective bargaining or employee termination matters.
Is there a second?
Second that.
We have a motion and a second. Motion by Ms. Karakas, second by Ms. Bullock. Any discussion?
I just want to know, I'm not sure what you're getting at.
Yeah, that's what I'm...
I mean, I'm not
Well,
sure.
when I find it really odd that you can call our school board attorney and ask about a labor relations issue and he doesn't know what's going on. And I think that anything that the labor attorney is working on, our school board attorney should be aware of it. And at this point in time, nothing goes through him. And I believe that years ago, that's how it always was. And I would feel more comfortable if our school board attorney was aware of what's going on in as far as labor relations with the labor relations attorney.
So is that a question for Mrs. McCabe? Is that
No,
what you're saying?
I feel like it's a question for the board to decide.
Or, I mean, I'm
We
just
want the
wondering, is she
oversight or
not
not.
are you saying she's not talking to Mr. Bickner, or,
I'm sure they're working together. I just want, before the labor attorney is engaged in any type of lawsuit, that it goes through our school board attorney. Just like our school board attorney has to read contracts, this is another contract he should review beforehand. And I think, you know, 10 days prior is sufficient time.
we asked Ms. McCabe.
Of course.
Ms. McCabe?
First of all, my reaction, I'm a little bit surprised because Mr. Bickner and I do work together on labor relations matters, as well as he's aware of our collective bargaining issues too. Could you review those exclusions again that you mentioned, I think, in your motion?
I will. I said that I would like any and all assignments to be brought to the with the labor attorney to be disclosed to our school board chairman and school board attorney 10 days prior to the date that the work is to begin, and with the proviso that the labor attorney shall not be used in any circumstances to research or review the legality or validity of actions of the board or the school board attorney, other than for collective bargaining or employee termination matters. And the reason I'm saying that is because over the past 2 years, the labor attorney has been used to do research on the board and to do research on the board attorney, and that's not what the labor attorney's for, and we're all aware of it, that that's what it was used for. So I would like to make sure, and it was not your doing, Ms. McCabe, so I'm not pointing the finger at you, but I would like to make sure that any and all future labor attorney requisitions, contracts, anything that he's engaged for goes through our school board attorney.
I just wanted to make sure that the day-to-day would not be held up as we work with our employees on issues and as we deal with collective bargaining on your behalf. But
Right.
and again, Mr. Bickner and I do consult on that. This policy, and the reason we're bringing it to you today here at the beginning of the year, does delay things, so I just don't want an additional
Right.
delay on top of that.
And no, and I agree with this being brought to us in advance so that, you know, you have the authority to go ahead and you know, book the Thrasher Horn for the Teacher of the Year ceremony and all the other things on here, all the fingerprinting, which, by the way, I was shocked when I saw $50,000 for
It's expensive.
fingerprinting retention.
Yeah.
But I'm glad to see that we are doing it every 5 years. So, but no, that's the reason for this, and
Well, when I read this, I kind of was thinking that basically this is allowing, approving the Director of Purchasing to issue purchase orders for these services that are listed here, and most of them are routine services that are repeated, you know, such as the fingerprinting or court reporting fees, drug screening tests. I mean, there is absolutely no reason things like that should have to come to the board. So,
And it's in the
you
budget.
know, I mean, that's just what I call routine things, and I certainly think that the Director of Purchasing can issue purchase orders on those. The Labor Relations Attorney, it would be nice to see what we're, you know, spending with them. I don't, you know, it makes no difference to me, but I can go along with that. I don't mind that coming, you know, to the board, just so that we'll be knowledgeable of what we're doing with labor relations. Some years we've spent a lot of money with them, some years not so much, but I don't have any objections to that coming to the board. But, you know, these other things I think are just routine things, and I don't want to, you know, hold up. I think the Director of Purchasing can do that on a daily basis.
so I would move to approve it with those with that modification.
I'm not exactly
Okay,
sure.
Ms. McKim.
I'm sorry, may I speak?
Go right into the mic.
I'm not exactly sure when you say modification, you're making a modification to what? It sounds like you're suggesting a policy change.
No,
What are you making a modification to?
I'm not approving this in the format that it's in. I made a motion to modify this. I made the motion that we approve it with the understanding or the change to it that the labor attorney.
She's just basically excluding the Labor Relations Attorney from that list that you see, and those would still just come to the board.
Everything else would be the same.
Everything else is the same.
Labor attorney, it's just the.
That's just saying that
So
we
what
would see
happens
the
to
labor
the-
attorney
Correct.
contract bills or whatever before they issued a purchase order on them. Everything else would be
So everything would come separately and individually every time they would need to use the labor attorney?
No.
No. Madam Chair, may I?
Oh, let's let Mr. Bickner
Yeah,
address
Mr. Bickner,
this.
could you please
Mr.
clarify?
Bickner?
From what I hear Ms. Carrick is saying, Ms. McKinnon, in answer to you, the recommended action says approve the Director of Purchasing to issue purchase orders for the above services. I don't think that she, based on what she said, has modified the fact that the Director of Purchasing would have the authority to issue the purchase orders.
Okay.
What I hear her saying is that when this labor attorney is engaged to do a specific thing, that the board would be notified and informed.
Okay.
That's what I hear.
So
And
you're saying that
number
the
two,
Director
that
of Purchasing
the
would still be able to do it, though?
yes, that's what I heard.
Okay.
And the second thing is that the board would not, or the labor attorney would not be used to second guess or look at those things that the board does, other than those things which would require it as part of collective bargaining and employee discipline, which he does already. I mean, the labor attorney advises Ms. McCabe on collective bargaining. The labor attorney advises me and Mrs. McCabe on issues that have to do with discipline. I have worked with the labor attorneys that we've had. As a bit of history, when I started here 13 years ago, the labor attorneys were basically supervised by Frank Scrooby. He made the determination as to when things were referred to the labor attorneys. He made the determination as to how they proceeded if they got into litigation, unless it was a circumstance where it was an employee discipline. He and then I made the decisions as to how the expenditures were made, the process of litigation. I was named, or he was named, as a co-counsel on every lawsuit that there was. And I think that all she's asking, from what I hear, is that I be kept informed and that the board be kept informed. And to the extent that that's what she's asking, it doesn't modify anything about the recommended action other than you'll notify the board and notify me 10 days before things start heating up, before the action happens.
So then why can't we pass this the way it is if it's not
Because
modifying
I think she's asking that you modify it so that those things that she's moved, which would be notification, be made a part of the recommended action.
Which is not right.
So like, what's
Okay,
the
are we clear?
example? What's an example of that we haven't been notified of?
Well, there's
We,
pretty much everything that
we
goes
can't
on
give an
in that
example because we don't know.
I know. Can't give you one.
But
Maybe Ms. McCabe might be able. We
Well, I'm
we
ju-
can't give you an example because we don't know.
I don't predict you'll be hearing from me much in this budget year for those things that are out of the routine.
Most of
Collective bargaining and employee issues will still consider to
So
continue
you're
to be
basing this
processed.
So you're basing this motion on speculation that there's something going on behind the scenes.
No.
It sounds.
No.
It's not, may I be heard?
Mr. Bickner.
It's not speculation at all. There were times in the last 2 years when there were investigations that were done and legal opinions which were sought against me and against the school board that the school board and I didn't know about. Now, I considered reporting those things and handling them in a completely different way than I did because I thought that they were absolutely improper. I think what Mrs. Karakas is bringing up and what she's asking is that it be clear that the school board be kept notified, that the school board attorney be kept notified, and that the labor law attorney that generally I have to work with and generally I would be involved with is not in the process of investigating the board or me, which I think is a conflict of interest and frankly is unethical. So.
Okay. Any more discussion? Okay. Then let's call for the vote. All those in favor of Ms. Karakas' motion say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no.
No.
Motion carries 3-2 with Ms. Graham and Ms. McKinnon dissenting. Okay. C14, advertise the 2014-2015 Code of Student Conduct. I have a card for Rena Lee Paiva. Ms. Paiva, you really filled out a bunch of cards tonight.
I did. Very busy today. Good evening, Rena Lee Paiva, proud president of the CCEA, the Teachers Union of Clay County, the association that by state law represents your teachers of this county. To hate us is to show an ignorance. To state that you will not work with us is against the laws of this state. The CCEA and the district worked hard and made good adjustments to this code of conduct. I want to thank Frances Sellis for all her work. It is a pleasure to work with someone who gets it. The CCEA, who works collaboratively with this district, asks that you vote yes on this document. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Paiva. I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move approval.
Second.
Have a motion by Ms. Karakas, second by Ms. Bullock. Any discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed say no. Motion carries 5-0. Next is C15, Crisis Intervention Manual. Ms. Paiva, I have a green card from you.
Good evening, Rena Lee Paiva, proud president of the CCEA, the Teachers Union of Clay County, the association that by state law represents your teachers of this county. To hate us is to show an ignorance. To state you will not work with us is against the laws of this state. The CCEA applauds the work of Frances Sellis and the rest of the counselors, teachers, and social workers for the obvious work that they have put into this manual. I only have a few concerns. Number one, am I correct that Gavin has a new higher paying job that is no longer the public informations officer? If so, then you need a new person listed on page 2, or at least a new job description. I know Gavin did a great job in our last crisis that we had when he was out there. He represented us. After I wrote this, I did speak to Frances, and she says that that was done in the summer. She didn't realize it, and she needs to work. So she's already aware of that. Number 2, I do not see a district crisis team or a procedure for a district crisis team. The CCA would love to suggest that one be put in there, even if it is a very general in the description. We feel that there should be a district crisis team because sometimes the manual is very in debt for on-site crisis teams. So at the school, I think the manual is excellent. I think the way it's worked out. But I think sometimes, well, I don't think sometimes, I pray it never happens, but it could happen that we really need to have a full-scale sort of district approach to some sort of horrible thing that could happen, which is what this is all about. Overall, the CCA does not want to hold up the adoption of this manual because it's much needed. We should have had it a long time ago. I urge you to adopt this document, and I did speak to Frances later on, like I said, and I wanted to be clear that I think she sees both my points, and I think she's going to work at it, but I think you still need to adopt it as it is. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move approval.
Second.
Have a motion by Ms. Graham, second by Ms. McKinnon. Any discussion?
I just want to say thank you to the group that put this together. Appreciate the being proactive. I know it was kind of a little bit after the fact, but unfortunately, we've never been in a situation like we were at Keystone. It was an uncharted area, and I appreciate all the work that the district staff did to make this happen. Yep. Thank you.
Very good. And we are voting on this, but Ms. Paiva suggested, she said she had talked to Ms. Salas, and that there was a couple minor things that needed to be tweaked in the manual. So we're going to vote on it, but
The district,
I guess the district can tweak it a little bit. Okay, we had a motion and a second. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed say no. Motion carries 5-0. Next is D3, Public Hearing 2014-2015 Admissions and Placement Manual included as school board policy. I'll open the public hearing. Is there anyone here who wishes to address this item? So I will close the public hearing and bring it back to the board. Got by Ms. Paiva that time. Bring it back to the board for discussion. I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move approval.
Have a motion by Ms. Graham, second by Ms. Karakas. No discussion? Okay. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. Motion carries 5-0. C29, approved 2014-2015 Master and Service Plan Review. Oh, we have a green card from Renalee Paiva.
Really, I was busy today. Good evening, Renalee Paiva, proud president of the CCEA, the Teachers Union of Clay County, the association that by state law represents your teachers of this county. To hate us is show an ignorance. To state that you will not work against us is against the laws of this state. The CCEA sent Darlene Evans, a teacher out at McRae Elementary, to summer training to be able to facilitate the training of teachers on teaching students with disabilities. This teacher training is a new requirement in order for teachers to obtain their certification from now on. The CCEA is happy to supply this in-service for our teachers. The CCEA is also happy that Dr. Emily Weiskopf has placed this training in the Master in-Service Plan. This program provides this program places Clay County in the top 10 counties that have worked collaboratively with its union on professional development. That will benefit our teachers. Thanks to Dr. Weiskopf and Terry Roth for working with us to make this happen. The CCA was proud to pay for this training that allows our county to have a face-to-face training option. We ask that you approve this Master in-Service Plan. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Paiva. I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move approval.
Second.
Have a motion by Ms. McKinnon, second by, I think Ms. Graham beat you. Second by Ms. Graham. Any discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. Motion carries 5-0. Next, C32, Charter School Review Committee recommendation of the Clay Charter Academy application. Item pulled by Mrs. Bullock.
I did. I pulled this item for several reasons. First of all, I would like to table this item. I would like to be able to have a little more time to review it. I have some concerns, and I spoke with Ms. Adams today. One of the things is about the location of the school, and did we find out any other than central Clay County?
I can speak to that.
Okay.
The president of Charter USA, I don't remember his name, and I talked briefly, and I asked him to come to Clay County or send his mapping guy. And I don't even know if I've talked to Mr. Merrill about this. This was yesterday afternoon. He was looking in the Rideout area, and I told him, I said, if you want our support, it would be a lot easier to swallow if you went out towards the Oakleaf area where we're just absolutely busting at the seams. So we got on Google Maps together over the phone, and I kind of showed him on the map where Poe, Oakleaf High School, Oakleaf Junior, Oakleaf Village. So he was actually looking in that area when we left off, and was going to look at some sites, and then bring his, I don't know what you call it, site planning gentleman, and get with Mr. Merrill and try to accommodate that request.
Okay.
How many? What was it? How many?
Well, their
1,000?
ultimate hope is that they'll have 1,145. It looks
That's what
like.
I was thinking.
They're going to start off with a projected enrollment of 661, and I'd like to know how they came up with that number. Is they just estimate that? I mean, does anybody know how they come up with a number?
I hate to put Ms. Sellis on the spot, but I saw this whole charter school application on her desk.
Okay,
so would
perfect.
you mind
Okay, Ms. Sellis.
answering a few questions?
I'm just seeing you every day. We were at a mentor meeting yesterday.
I actually wrote a note about how they came up with that.
If you would pull that mic a little closer to your mouth, thank you.
You'll give me just a second to find my note about their...
Certainly.
In the application, they wrote that they used the Economic and Social Research Institute mapping software to determine the student density in a certain population, and that's how they came up with their number for the opening number of 661.
It was in the 600.
661.
651.
That's for the first year, but they're ultimately hoping by the fifth year to have 1145 is what their projection is.
Ooh.
Okay. Yeah.
Ooh.
And of course, what drew it to my attention, of course, is the financial impact of 1,145 students. The final, because I know what we're paying for the 250, or that were projected at Orange Park.
Performing Arts.
Performing Arts. That's what now? 180, but I mean, I think they were asking right at it with this time. So imagine 1,145 and what that will pull out of our district. That's another reason why my concern with Ms. Adams was, as Mr. Van Zant said, that it would go to where was it located, because if it's an area that's under-enrolled or an area that's over-enrolled. So that's my concern. I would like to, again, I'm concerned very much about the financial impact of all of this. I would like for us to be able to have some type of a presentation about this, the total package, if that's possible. And you mentioned somebody coming in to talk, or not?
I don't have anything written down, but just as didn't we just do this a year ago with an application that wasn't even put together well, and found out that unless we could give some really good cause, I think was the term, that we have to do this anyway. You can table it, you can ask them to come talk to you, maybe they will, maybe they won't, but it's really, at the end of the day, I don't think we can say it hurts our pocketbook really bad and we're the public education system and we don't like it, which maybe we don't, but I don't know that we have a whole lot of leverage over that situation.
Is there a time frame that we must work?
We have 60 days from the time they turn in their application.
And how long ago did they turn in their application?
On July 31st, it was evaluated by our review team, and it was found to meet the standards of the rubric that's provided by the state of Florida. And the next step is to put it on the board agenda. It was prepared at that time, so I went ahead and put it on the agenda for tonight.
I have no doubt that a good job was done. That's not my question at all. My question, of course, is the financial impact, where they're located. I want more specifics about exactly where they are. I know they've
And
said that, but do we know that for sure?
For
Because
Florida
I'm looking at
statute,
the
we
write out, let's see if I'm looking at this correctly, about their enrollments, if that's still the area, and you said it's not. Is that correct? They're looking at different.
You don't have to, they don't have, we're not over, we don't have to prove anything about where they put it or anything to that degree. I mean, you really have to be, you know,
Ms.
pretty
Graham.
legit. I feel like I'm close. Pretty legit. You know, I mean, their application was excellent. If you read through it, you can see all of the things that they were, you know, they've already planned.
And Florida statute does say that their application can be approved without a determined location. So that is actually right.
Ms. Ellis, how many people were on the committee? I know the last time when the charter application came to us for the performing arts, we saw everybody's assessment of
Comments.
it.
We saw the
8 or 10
comments that they
people.
made about it.
I only see yours in here. Not that I'm questioning yours, but I'm
I
wondering.
compiled everyone's comments as I split out the different pieces amongst all of the committee members, and they can put it on their piece of paper, and I just made it pretty on one evaluation instrument. So I compiled the comments that were made from the different committee members.
How many?
There's about 10. They represent all the different areas of the district, including human resources. So it was that section was reviewed by that department. So human resources represented, finance is represented, as well as a community representative, and the rest of the folks are pretty much from the instructional division representing ESE, ESOL, all of the different components of the criteria in the application.
And everybody was pleased with it. They all felt that there was nobody who denied any part of it.
No, everyone checked that it met the standard.
All right, thank you.
You know the way I feel about it, and I was listening to what Mr. Van Zant said. Last year, we had an application that needed some tweaking, and we rejected it, and then they brought it back. We still thought it needed a little more tweaking, but they went ahead and went to Tallahassee with it, and they told us very quickly from Tallahassee, hey, that charter school's going to open, girls and boys. So this application, from everything I have been told, every T is crossed, every I is dotted. This is a big outfit. They are, you know, I think one of the guys here in Clay County is a lobbyist for them, and I think that they have their ducks in a row, and we can sit here and delay it or vote against it, but you know, the truth of the matter is, let's be realistic. If it goes to Tallahassee, they're going to say stamp of approval, and it's going to get done. We don't have any control. We really don't have any control over it, and I think, you know, I would kind of like to know where it is, but we don't really. They're going to overrule us no matter what we do.
And if I could just add to that, I think that it is in their best interest to pick an area that is going to have high enrollment. I think that in discussions, they're going to want to go to an area. So if you're concerned about an area that maybe doesn't have a lot of students, or we have under enrollment, I think they're going to agree that's not in their best interest. They're going to probably want to go to an area. So we don't have a say-so in where they pick, but I think that it's in their best interest to pick an area where there's higher enrollment.
You know, it's too bad the local control, it just keeps getting, Ms. Graham's nodding her head because we've been saying that for 22 and 24 years. They just keep whittling away at local control, and this is just another for instance, but I really truthfully don't believe that there's any way we can stop these people. So I'm just glad it was clean and a, you know, good application. So
Go ahead
what are
and
the
move
wishes?
approval.
All right, we have a motion by Ms. Graham. What?
Oh, you have a card?
Oh, I have a card. Oh, I forgot Ms. Paiva has a card. Thank you, Ms. Salas. Ms. Paiva, how could I forget? We have a green card from Ms. Paiva.
Felt left out there.
Oh, I forgot.
Good evening, Renly Paiva, proud president of the CCEA, the Teachers Union of Clay County, the association that by state law represents your teachers of this county. To hate us is to show ignorance. To state you will not work with us is against the laws of this state. The CCEA adamantly opposes another charter school in Clay County. Clay County has for years been a successful school district. While it is true that we have dropped to number 19, Mr. Van Sant is right, we're number 19, we got a 9 point and an 11 point to be right back into the top 10. Clay County has no failing schools. Clay County has one D school, and we fully expect that school to rebound. The one charter school that we have now will cost this district $1.4 million. I'll concede Dr. Copeland saying $1 million. Mrs. Adams said $1.4 million. Where is that money coming from? I asked for $300,000 for testing assistants, and we don't have it. But we have $1.4 million. This new charter school expects to have 1,145 students by the next 5 years. That will cost this district $7,844,727. Where are you getting that money? I know the people with big money support this. They have convinced the public using words like school choice. It's not about school choice. It's about an industry of making money using public funds. What is the school offering that we do not already have? And if there is something, then why are we not offering it? Look at what is going on around us. This is not about filling a void. This is all about making money. If you vote yes to this, then start planning on closing schools and letting employees go. You can't have it both ways. I know you're going to send it up to Tallahassee. I know Tallahassee is going to say yes because it's money making. But I say, and the CCA says, let them impose it. You don't have to collaborate with it. You have the power to say no. Let Tallahassee put it back on us. That's fine. At least you can say to the people, you didn't do it. Thank you.
Okay. Y'all want to talk some more? We had a motion by...
You had a motion by me, and I'll just say that we understand...
Wait, did we have a second?
Yeah, I seconded
Ms.
it.
McKinnon, okay, now discussion.
But it is our duty to follow the law and the rules and the regulation, and if somebody has done all of that, then we have no choice but to do it and do it respectfully. And no one here really wants to take the $7 million, but you have to remember, if you're taking the $7 million, then you're not spending that money on those students either, so it doesn't equate to quite that amount. But it's not something we like to do. As you know, we've tried in the past, and we've been very fortunate in this district that we do have great schools, and that we do not have the number of charter schools that all the other districts are getting and having. And so I think our teachers are doing a great job, and you're doing a great job, you know, supporting them. But I do feel like we have got to do the right thing in following what the rules and guidelines are and the laws.
What worries me about charter schools, and I'm all for it if it fills a need that we can't, like the Orange Park Performing Arts, we can't fill that need apparently. So, but this one, it's very similar to, you know, Orange Park Elementary, which we've already gotten, and I agree with you as far as, you know, the schools getting this funding. But when these kids go, you know, we still have the same overhead. We still have just as many teachers. We're not losing a whole third grade class at one particular school. We're losing a little bit here and there. So our overhead stays the same, and the money goes with those kids. So I understand, you know, if the application is approved by the committee, we do have this responsibility to approve it. But like you, Mrs. Studdard, I wish they weren't coming into our county unless it fills a need. So,
you know, I'll openly admit, you know, I'm not crazy about this idea, but I don't know, you know, I don't think there's anything we can do to stop it. I mean, all we'll do if we vote against it, which, I don't know, I'm sitting here thinking, do I vote against it and
May I add
have the
something?
governor come back, them come back and say, you are going to do it anyway? I mean, it's almost like delaying the agony. Yes, Mr. Bickner?
If I may add just a couple of things. Everything that Mr. Van Zandt has said is correct. Everything that Ms. Sellis said is correct. Everything that Mrs. Graham said is correct. Beyond that, if you deny this, within 10 days I have to create the reasons for the denial. I have none. Beyond that, once it's appealed to Tallahassee, I have to create the record on appeal that goes to them, explaining to the Charter Review Commission why we've done what we did and pointing out all of the deficiencies in their application. There are none. So I would spend probably 30 days, half of 30 days probably, creating something that I would have to really search for that doesn't exist, and then go before the Charter Review Commission, have them do what they did the last time, which was all but laugh at us, and then drive back from Tallahassee and explain to you what happened. So my recommendation would not be to deny this application. It will create nothing but problems to do that.
This just infuriates me. But, I mean, you don't see any big smiley faces on this one. It's just one of those, we don't have any control over it. I mean, the powers that be said this is the way it's going to be.
May I say
Oh, yes, Mr. Van Zandt.
the bright side is, for years and years, Clay County really hasn't been a target or a high need area for a charter school, and that's something to be proud of.
Yeah.
And competition can make us all better. You got two ways to make your schools better. You hire better teachers, or you make your own teachers better. We have great folks. We're working with them, doing collaboratively what they're asking for in terms of training, to the extent we can with the fund balance we have and all this extra money we always talk about that we're sitting in and find under our desk and just rolling in, down here. So as we get better, as we move back into the top 10, I think we've only ever been 10th once. We've never been higher than that, if my history is correct off the top of my head, so don't quote me on that. We will become less and less of a target for charter schools. And as we get one or two decent charter schools in Clay County, when we have an application that isn't very good and something that looks sketchy and we deny it, but we've been a county with a lot of public schools, some private schools, and a couple charters that are operated well, we'll have some credibility. I'm not trying to say it's right or wrong the way the state laws are, but we will be in a better position to select the very best choices for our students. So this doesn't have to be a big doom and gloom cloud.
What's the rule on it when charter schools come in? And Ms. Cornegay probably knows. If they come in and they're a failing school for 2 years in a row, is that when they can then be shut down?
Ms. Cornegay, do you know?
I know many have opened in Duval and many have closed.
I know what I read in the newspaper, about charter schools being closed, that, we're not.
2 years in a second grade
Is it a 2-year period?
Is a long time.
Or Ms. Cornegay?
I'm not positive on that, since we've never, this is a new territory for us, but
I guess
that
we're all
sounds
gonna
about
learn.
right. I know there's a year of probation, lots of oversight from the district and the state when that happens, and so the 2 years does sound correct, but I can't tell you for sure that that's accurate.
And that worries me.
Well,
Well,
Okay, any more discussion?
Well, I'm all about choice as well, but if you flood the market, just like if you build 3 grocery stores within a 5-mile radius, probably they all suffer. So I think we have to be very careful. If we didn't have a choice, it wouldn't be on the agenda for us to vote on, I don't believe. So I think we do have a choice to how we vote, whether how the state does, that's up to them. The first charter school I voted for. I was the only one.
You sure were. I think
was.
it was a 4-1 vote, Ms.
Because it offered something different and something I felt like was needed in the county. It was at a smaller a level of students, and so I was in favor of it. I think this is getting too big, and I'm just not in favor of it. That's my opinion.
Any further discussion? You ready for the vote? You look like you're puzzled there.
my heart's saying one thing, but my head is saying you have to follow your attorney's recommendation and you have to follow the law. So that's where I'm torn.
Okay, let's have the vote then. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed say no.
No.
Motion carries 4-1. Ms. Bullock, you did it again, a 4-1
No,
vote.
I'm hoping my average will work this time, too.
Okay. All right.
A very good argument.
You do have a good point, and I can tell you I didn't like voting for it, honestly. Okay, C-42, that is the agreement between School Board and TSA Consulting Group, Inc. Rena Lee Paiva. I think she read every word on the back.
At work today. Good evening, Renly Paiva, proud president of the CCEA, the Teachers Union of Clay County, the association that by state law represents your teachers of this county. To hate us is to show ignorance. To state you will not work with us is against the laws of the state. The CCEA has done its homework. This is a fine company, and it is imperative that the district signs this contract and has them for good legal standings. The company not only protects the district, but it also protects the employees. The CCA has one angst on this contract. We get that $5.73 per month per employee, or about $28,650 a month is paid to TSA. It's the automatic 3% increase every year for the next 5 years that causes us a concern. Remember what happened when the automatic rate increase we signed and promised to the Blues came back and got us this year? I just feel, I did put a call into Nancy Racine today. She did not answer my call because I wanted to find out, is this like a standard practice? And I would like you to find out, is this a standard practice in a 5-year contract? And that we would have an automatic 3% increase every year for 5 years. It just seems to me that I would like an automatic increase in my contract with this school board every year for the next 5 years. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Paiva.
Madam Chairman.
Dr. Copeland, I was going to call on you. We need some help over here.
First of all, I've heard the last 4 or 5 times she get up and say, to hate us is ignorance. I cannot believe that our teachers union would say such a thing. Now let me respond to what she said.
Yes, sir.
Take a deep breath.
Left foot, right foot.
First of all, wow. First of all, let me try to help us understand what's happening here. We provide an opportunity for the employees of this district to purchase retirement plans. And we don't have to do that. So we provide for them to purchase either a 403B or a 457. Prior to 6 or 7 years ago, we had 15 to 20 of these vendors that came in and inundated the staff, the employees of this school district. Finally, the state said, okay, school districts, you need to narrow this down to 5 to 7 vendors. And you need to find a company, and we recommend TSA, to come in and oversee that process. Probably 70 to 80 to maybe 90% approximately of the districts that do decide to work with the employees and allow them pre-tax retirement programs use TSA. So we negotiated with TSA. I remember it today, 6 or 7 years ago. And so what we got was $5 and something per year per employee, and the district pays that in behalf of these employees. They have not one time increased that rate in the last 7 years on that 3%, because we've done it in the behalf of the employees, and this school board pays that expense in their behalf. The vendors, wanted to charge the employees. We said, no way, that's not going to happen. So they came up, the vendors, said, all right, we will allow $1 a month that if they wanted to, the vendors, wanted to charge the employees directly, they could, but the employee then could not use that service. They could use something else. So not only do we pick that up for the employees, and not only did we negotiate that if you want to charge the employee, at least the employee would have the ability to say, no, I'll go to the next vendor. We've explained the difference between a 403B and a 457. The reason we had to go with TSA is because of the requirements. Since we have gone out and said we will offer these products to our employees, then we're responsible. The school district is responsible if we should, by a mistake, allow an employee to withhold more than federal requirements, which I think is approximately $17,000 a year. If you carry a 403B and a 457, you can each withhold that amount. Okay? So, since we're responsible in providing this service to the employees, then the school district says we will pay that expense. Not 1 year have they said we're going to increase that $5 and something cents by 3%. The implications is just not correct. And we've got to be careful about that. I guess it bothers me because I've seen it over the years. And we talk about ignorance. We need to be careful who we're calling ignorant. That's all I have to say.
I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move approval.
I have a motion by Ms. McKinnon, second by Ms. Graham. Any discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed say no. Motion carries 5-0. Did some of y'all vote? Okay, 5-0. Okay, we're up to presentations from the audience. We're almost to the end. Cheryl McDavid. Okay. I was sitting here trying to say it correctly. Potato. Tomato.
My name is Cheryl McDavid.
McDavid.
My address is on the card for the public record. Contrary to comments on a variety of Facebook pages, I am not a political person, a minion of the devil or spawn of Satan. I don't show up at the BCC meetings or the school board meetings because of politics. I suit up and I show up for two reasons. One, I am a widow who will be turning 70 next year, and I'm hanging on by a thread financially. I attend these meetings to see how my tax dollars are being spent, and more importantly, how they are being wasted. I never attended any meetings until I heard the BCC was going to spend $19 million on a limited-use ballpark. In the process of learning the facts about how that came about, I discovered that there was other wasteful spending going on in the school district as well, so I started to attend these meetings. Number two, the public education system and public libraries saved my life when I was a poor, lonely little nerd of a girl. I have a heart for these two uniquely American institutions, and I believe they have a symbiotic relationship to improve our society and make it more livable for all of us. It doesn't matter what side you're on, in quotes. These are institutions that need to be protected. I hate coming here. I have been maligned, accused of being deceptive because my Facebook picture looks like it was taken 20 years ago. My ego demands that I mention the picture in question had been taken 3 months prior at my grandson's wedding, pretending to be nice when I'm really not. And worst of all, I have been followed to my car after a meeting here and informed that I am going to hell. We have had people with titles in front of their names and letters after their names stand up here and at BCC meetings establishing their credentials and telling us what we should believe. I don't have any of those credentials. My PhD is persnickety high school dropout. I would probably be called a lot of names starting with P on Facebook before the night is out. Yes, I am the poster child of a misspent youth. Yes, I am an uneducated, simple woman. But I do know how to use a telephone, the internet, and how to check facts. This whole threat of being on notice, being put on probation, or in danger of losing accreditation is simply not a fact. After the meeting is adjourned tonight, I will be outside the back door with my contact information if you are interested in having a civil conversation with me by phone or email about facts, not opinions, at a later time. If you're not, please do not use my contact information to harass me, frighten me, accuse me of nefarious deeds, or start rumors about my place of worship, as had been done to a highly respected church in our community, attended by Ms. Studdard, Wendell Davis, Senator Rob Bradley, and Leslie Dewar, head of the Florida Republican Party, among others. That demeans all of us as citizens of this great community. Thank you.
The next card is Renalee Paiva.
You're going to like this. Good evening, Renalee Paiva, proud president of the CCEA, the Teachers Union of Clay County. The association by state law represents your teachers of this county. To hate us is to show ignorance. To state you will not work with us is against the laws of this state. I like TSA, by the way. I met the president. I like the company. I was just simply asking a question. I think I've been kind of pushed to the edge lately. I really don't care what people post on Facebook or say at these school board meetings. I really don't. What I do care about is the division that now exists with some administrators and the teachers. I do care about the hatred in this room at times is absolutely unbearable. I have worked very hard for the CCEA to have a good relationship with 97% of the principals and 99% of the district level administrators. That could be 98 at the moment. I have no intentions to allow anyone to destroy these relationships. People need to get over the union thing. We are proud to be a union. The principals have a union. The principals have a union that even has a PAC. But you never hear anyone badmouth the principals union. You never hear that that isn't okay for them to belong to their union, but not your teachers. What about the superintendent's union? Goodness, they even have paid lobbyists, which is beyond any little union's PAC. What about the school board? Do you really not see your association as a union? Just because you might not have the ability to collective bargain does not make you any less unionized. I am proud of our teachers. They deserve the praise of this board, this administration, and these principals. They do not deserve the hatred that has been sent their way. We are the Clay County Education Association. We are your union, and we are your teachers. Thank you.
Okay. The next card is Joanna Adkins. You would state your name and address for the record.
My name is Joanna Atkins, and I live at Bottom Ridge Drive, Clay County, Orange Park. I am a concerned parent. I am concerned with the decision that was made by the ESE ASD department to take down the doors from the secluded timeout rooms for the special needs students. I am a mother of a 16-year-old autistic son who is on a lower spectrum level. I am aware of behavior issues which occur with special needs students. The parents were never informed with this decision, nor were able to voice their opinions in regards to the doors being taken down. I believe that taking these doors down will create more of a liability to the schools. The students can run away and take their frustration out on others. This can cause harm to the special needs students and all involved. The special needs students will be physically restrained if redirection does not work. There are some special needs students where redirection and behavioral coaches do work, but other students where it does not work. Some special needs students do not like to be physically restrained, and doing this will make them more upset. In this situation where this is the type of situation where they actually do find a safe haven in these rooms with a door. This is a form of security for them. Some of these students are 6 feet and taller and over 200 pounds. It's going to take more than a couple of people to physically restrain these students. Not all of the staff members are trained in safe crisis management. Because of this, it will take away the staff members who are trained from other classrooms, and that's going to affect the other students' education. What will happen after 20-40 minutes of physical restraining? Well, there will be no other option but to call the Clay County Sheriff's Office and have an officer come out. This is what was told to the teachers to do as a last resort. There have been cases where Clay County Sheriff's officers were called out and handcuffs were placed on these special needs students, and the students were then hog-tied. This is inhumane and cruel for these special needs students who do not comprehend what is going on. If the problem is overuse of these secluded doors, why punish the special needs students who need it the most and others involved by taking these doors down? The problem then is not the doors. It is another source. Let's correct that problem. What if the teacher cannot control themselves physically? Why give them more power physically to restrain the student? What will happen if all resources have been exhausted and the physical restraint is greater than 20 to 40 minutes? Right now, nothing is written down for protocols pertaining to this matter at hand. Why weren't the parents notified of this decision, and why don't we have a say-so in regards to these doors being taken down? This is a county decision. I am willing to compromise as a parent. Put one room with a door up in a classroom to where it's needed the most. Reduce the secluded timeout rooms to one room per school. If at all possible, put a camera in the room.
Ms. Adkins, could you kind of wrap it up?
Yes,
They said your
I will.
minutes.
Yes, ma'am. Let us as a parent, let us as parents make the decisions in regards to what we want done with these secluded timeout rooms. Thank you for understanding what needs to be done for our special needs students.
Okay. I do want to have a conversation about this, but we don't get into it right now. When the speakers speak, we're going to finish the cards, and then we'll have some conversation. Okay, thank you. Next is Rebecca, and I'm going to have to guess. Music? Okay.
I am Rebecca Music. I am from St. Johns County, but I'm here to support my sister. I'm addressing the school board this evening regarding the decision to move the doors from the seclusion rooms in the classrooms for special needs children. My nephew is a 16-year-old with low-functioning autism, currently attending a school in Clay County. I do want to say I'm also a pediatric nurse at Wilson Children's Hospital Emergency Department. I've been there for 12 years. I'm concerned that the Clay County School Board is making a bad decision based on a knee-jerk reaction due to an unfortunate event and not based on literature reviews, research, or empirical evidence. The decision to take down the doors means that if a special needs child is having an emotional outburst and redirection is not working, the first action plan is to physically restrain the child. If this does not calm down the child and the parents cannot arrive in a timely manner, it is my understanding the staff has been instructed to phone 911 and have an officer take the child to MHRC or Clay Behavioral Health. This decision presents a threefold problem. The decision is not evidence-based. There is no literature or evidence showing that physically restraining an autistic or special needs child will calm him down. There is, however, research showing that quiet rooms do help calm the child. Not all aides or teachers have the appropriate teaching or certification to properly restrain a child and perform crisis management. This will inundate a system that is already at full capacity, meaning MHRC, Clay Behavioral Health, and Baptist Pediatric Behavioral Health. I'm proposing several solutions. Place a partial door, 3/4 of a door, in each seclusion room. Have only one seclusion room for each facility with a full door, and have a live feed camera with staff monitoring the room if it's being used. Or have a behavioral health specialist available at each facility at all times for the teachers, so the teachers can use them to pull the child out of the room and settle them down outside of the classroom, away from the other children, and not having to utilize the teacher or other staff from other rooms. Finally, I encourage the board to solicit feedback from parents in Clay County with special needs children. They have great ideas, they know what works, and please disseminate the final protocol to the parents with special needs children. Thank you, and I pray that the best decision will be made for our children.
Okay. Thank you. That ends the green cards. Before we even get to superintendent request, I do have some questions. Is Terry Roth back? Would you come up, please? I was hoping I could find you. I have some questions. I'm sure I think the board members may. I'm so glad you're...
bring those through the superintendent if you don't mind. Ms. Roth, did you come prepared to speak to this tonight? Because you and I haven't spoken about this yet, and I would like to.
I have some general information, but I'm not prepared to get into great detail about it.
Okay. Well, if you would get these two ladies information before they leave tonight, and after they've talked to you, I'll be glad to have a conversation with all of you and Ms. Studdard or a board member if they'd like to come. But if you would just give us some general information, we're not solving this from the board floor tonight. Thank you.
Okay. Yes, ma'am.
So you just want to give general information? I just had a few questions, and Mr. Van Zant wants you to talk to them first. But what I want to know is, what is the law on this? I want to make it clear that this was not a school board decision to take the doors off the room. We didn't know about it. That was something that's not our domain. And then I wanted to know, are all the teachers in the room? I heard them say that not all of them are SCM trained, Safe Crisis Management trained. I was curious, are any people around these kids that are not trained with SCM? Any other questions that y'all just want to throw out, so that when she talks to Mr. Van Zant and the...
I just wanted to, you asked the one question, what does the law require? That's
and that's what with this is certainly not our field of expertise, but please don't blame the board for this. We did not do this. We do a lot, but we didn't do that. All right, Ms. Wyeth, if you want to give us a general statement, and then just assure that there will be some follow-up conversation.
There will, and I have actually been talking with Ms. Atkins and some other parents who have some concerns. As a background, we have youngsters, as Ms. Atkins and her sister discussed, that have either been restrained or secluded over the course of many years. That has been a long-standing policy in the district. Many districts have moved away from using seclusion
as a strategy for dealing with students who are in crisis. And as we have looked at our data, as we have looked at practice, we have made that determination as an ESC department and as an instructional division that that makes sense for our school district. There are, however, a number of youngsters in the district who do have very exceptional needs, and I certainly am well aware of those needs. We are actually meeting, we've started scheduling those meetings with individual meetings with each of those families. There's about 20 children out of approximately 6,497 students with disabilities. So it's a very small number, but that doesn't mitigate the seriousness of needing to address those concerns. So we are beginning those meetings with our staff and our certified board behavior analysts to work out individual plans. I do want the board to know that our initial strategy is not to first restrain and call the police. So there
Or
are
handcuff the kids.
other things in there that is not. Certainly there's been some miscommunication on that, but generally speaking, that's kind of where we are, and that's why we're, excuse me, moving towards that end.
Okay. Well, I'm glad to know that there's already been conversation, but would you do me a favor? Once y'all talk and Mr. Van Zant's involved, would you let the board know kind
Certainly.
of the outcome?
Absolutely.
So we will be aware. Thank you. Did y'all have anything you want to say before she sits down?
The second young lady offered several suggestions.
Yes,
I don't
ma'am.
know if some of those are being looked
They
into.
are.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you so
Do
much.
any of the
Thank you.
rooms do any of the secluded rooms have video cameras in them?
At the moment, they do not.
They do not. Thank you.
Okay.
Any
Are
other
these all at one school?
Ma'am?
Are they all at one school?
No, ma'am. They're clustered across the district.
Across the district. Okay.
Okay.
Thank
Any
you
other
so much,
questions?
and we'll look forward to a follow-up. Okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much. Okay, superintendent request.
Just like to thank everybody, our administrators, our teachers, our support staff. We're off to a rip-roaring start. Special kudos to our transportation department. You know, sometimes people just can't see a big yellow bus and they run right into the back of it. But doggone it, our people do the right thing every time. We get those kids picked up and moved on. And so I'm just very appreciative of where we're at. We transport over 17,000 students a day and feed about 20,000 meals a day. Just the logistical tell on this operation continues to impress me before we even get into academics and school clinics and all those every day. So thank you very much.
Okay. Board request. I'll start with Ms. Karakas. I usually start down there, so I'm going to start with you this time.
I'll echo what the superintendent said, and I'll just say thank you to our administrators and our teachers and support for a smooth start of the school year. And I think it's what he said about the buses. People can't seem to see a big yellow bus, so please be careful out there. Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Bullock.
Thank you all for coming tonight.
Okay, Ms. Graham.
This year, I think that the busing system, did a great job, best they can do. Teachers and staff, it's just miraculous if you get to go to a school on the first day and you see all the things that everybody has to do to work together to get those kids going, get them on the buses, get them off the buses, get them in the right classroom, teach them to line up if it's elementary and where the cafeteria is and so on and so forth. And I had one call, and that was it, someone that wasn't happy. So out of one call for all that we do in this district
That's
and all
an
the
A+.
students we serve, that was grand. So hats off to all of you that participated in helping make that a great start this year.
That's right. Ms. McKinnon?
I have nothing.
Okay. I just want to finish up. Oh, I forgot one thing a while ago when I was talking about accreditation. Mr. Manuel brought me these brochures, and he asked me to share these with the board. So here's 4. This will tell you all you ever wanted to know about accreditation. And in your spare reading, that'll give you that. I do want to address a couple things briefly. Number one, the discussion earlier about the lawsuit from 1 year ago and who dismissed the suit. There was a confidentiality.
Madam Chair.
There was a confidentiality clause there. I said there's a confidentiality clause, so any comments about that are inappropriate. Okay. The second thing on the criticism about the school board getting a writ of mandamus, the lawsuit with the county commission. That hearing is next Tuesday at 9 a.m., I understand, but I just want to say that they acted against the advice of both of their attorneys as far as what the statutes say, and so at this point I think it would be improper to say anything except let it go to the judge, and certainly the judge will interpret the law, and we will all abide by that law. But the reason that was filed was because we felt that the statute had not been followed, as well as there are two attorneys thought the same thing. But I do want to compliment you board members tonight. This was a good meeting. It's a good way to start the year. Mr. Warrenberg, I've got to tell you, I did not get one single bus call. And I mean, I think that's the first time in 22 years I never got one call from anybody. I guess everybody is very happy. So I know the teachers and the support staff are working hard, our administrators. We do appreciate it. So far, so good. And thank y'all for coming. I think we've got had a good meeting tonight. We got a lot done. And good evening. The meeting is adjourned. Oh, school board request.
I'm good.